Technology has brought us so far that our lives have become as easy as the Jetsons, right? A reliable job where you only have to press 1 or 2 buttons to turn a machine on and off. A flying car, a robot who takes care of the cooking, cleaning, organising and childcare for you. Oh, and that reliable, easy job that you have, on just one person's salary, you can support a family of 4 and a dog. Sadly, life hasn't quite worked out like the Jetsons. Turns out the future ain't what it used to be. Otherwise, we wouldn't have video after video like this. Feel the frustration emanating off the screen. Like, yeah dude, if your child poops, you clean it up. We see a kitchen covered in dirty dishes, boxes and various junk. And the caption says, when your husband asks to help clean up and asks what needs to be done.
Where could they be? Where are your eyes? Point to them with me. Yeah, we have 2 eyes.
Very effective use of Miss Rachel there. I feel like all of us are feeling that same sense of frustration. And speaking of Miss Rachel, I'm going to be shouting out this video from Lindsay Ellis in case you haven't watched it yet. I'm going to have that linked for you down below. Very important watch. Out of a family, a wife got COVID, as did her son, and so what they did was they self-isolated upstairs to make sure that the husband didn't get COVID, right? May I remind you that COVID is no joke, and she was bedridden and trying to look after her son at the same time. Then after a week passes, she goes downstairs, and this is what she's met with. This dude had just let everything stack up. Rotten food and all. She was describing the smell, she was describing everything. I'm a bit of a germaphobe, and I really massively struggled watching this. And the really sad thing to me is that she was defending him in the comments, saying that he had gotten her food and also had walked the dog. And I can pretty much bet if the genders were reversed, then this would be a wife's failure. I have to voice over this one for copyright reasons, but it says, "You look happier, thanks. I started charging my family every time they rent my brain instead of using their own. Hey Shan, is the dishwasher clean?" Hands her some money. Yep. Hey Shan, where's the iron? Please hand me some money. It's right there. Shan, do you know what a laundry detergent is? Hands her some money. Some more. It's in the cabinet. First, we gotta establish what unpaid labor is so that people are all on the same page. It's things like washing dishes, vacuuming, cleaning, cooking, dusting, cleaning the bathroom, doing the washing, sorting it all out, putting it away, booking appointments, meal planning, grocery shopping, childcare, garden care, looking after pets. All of the stuff that ensures that you can live like a healthy life and effectively be a functioning cog in the capitalist machine. It's all physical and mental labor that's kind of the backbone of society. Like, it's all of this work which gets done, but it's completely unpaid. Oh, universal basic income. One day. I mean, you can indeed hire a nanny, a personal chef, a personal shopper, a cleaner, a gardener, a laundry person. But those options are really for the wealthy, and unless you're super rich, you don't have access to them. And I'm sure that you are very familiar with all of the TikToks, the Reddit posts, the memes, everything about the inequality when it comes to unpaid labor being done, especially in straight relationships. And this is kind of where I want to focus on, because the more I researched into this video, the more that this became such a sticking point, and it's kind of why I say tech hasn't saved us from unpaid labor. In fact, for capitalism to thrive, it relies on the unpaid labor of specifically women in straight relationships. And it's definitely noticeable when people aren't doing their fair share of things around the home, and that can lead to many frustrations. There have been divorces because of this.
My husband said he doesn't make any mess in the house, so I haven't been picking up after him completely for the past 3 weeks. He said he can't live in the messy house and went to see his mom overseas for 3 weeks. I am so happy.
And as I was researching this video more, a pattern kept on emerging of gender norms still being very much in place. Especially when it comes to the chores which are about the daily running of life. You know, the meal planning, the meal prepping, the cleaning the kitchen, like all of the stuff that you kind of have to do constantly, because once you've cooked, you have to wash up straight away afterwards, right? Whereas, you know, taking out the trash, that's every few days, or mowing the lawn, that could be once to twice a week. It's like there's a default that women will just like pick up the slack and do the rest of the work, even though our workload outside of the home has increased exponentially over time, but we're somehow seemingly still stuck in the 50s in terms of people's mindsets. But this has left me really confused, because there has been so much tech which has come out which is meant to have made our lives super easy to do, and yet we haven't really spent less time doing all of this unpaid work. Like, what the hell is going on? My patrons voted for this video topic, so that's why you're seeing it today, and they already have the extended, uncensored version of this video live for them on Patreon. Since we're heading into spring here, you know, there's cute little lambs bouncing around and blossoms everywhere, I sort of figured we should do some lemon-flavored cupcakes today.
He grew up in the late 1800s. There were no appliances back then. His mother had to do everything by hand, just back-breaking work from sunup to sundown.
I do not know how to operate the laundry machine in my home. I don't know how to do it. I have, on maybe a couple of occasions, when my wife said, "Oh, could you go put the laundry in?" I have done it. I have had to ask her to guide me every step of the way. That is not something that comes naturally to men. That is a little more of a feminine thing.
There are gizmos and what's-its galore. You want thingamabobs? That's like 20,000 of them that you can find in various iterations on TikTok, especially. People have made so many videos of TikTok made me buy it, and you'll see this especially when it comes to cleaning, organization, and luckily we've got people like Sophia Nygaard who will never miss an opportunity to do this sort of stuff, which sadly doesn't always bring a whole bunch of success. Then you're just left with a whole bunch of junk afterwards. But it's okay because it's so cheap, especially if you shop on Temu, which is something I never do, and I really do, if possible, encourage you not to. There is a never-ending stream of products which are meant to be lifesavers, time savers, stuff which can make your life exponentially easier. Some of them are especially helpful if you live in a very small space and you don't have like a washing machine, for example. So you can have things which just sit on the tabletop and you can fold it back away. Like, there are some very useful things for people that live in dense cities. And another thing which often gets overlooked is people often assuming that things are just for lazy people. Say, for example, you're going through the fruit and veg section at the supermarket and you see all of these pre-chopped vegetables and fruit and stuff. You're like, God, who's that lazy? That's so wasteful. However, that's actually really useful for disability access. So there's also a bunch of things which have allowed for greater independence. It doesn't mean that it ultimately like saves some time or whatever. It just means that you don't have to rely on other people to, you know, open a can or chop some veggies for you or something. However, it's important to note that when it comes to this sort of access, there tends to be a price tag attached to it. So disability access is sadly often costly. The myth goes that modern technology has freed women from the shackles of home. And as Nicole Rudolph so excellently puts it in this video, which I've got linked for you down below,
you can do it yourself with the help of this new oven, dishwasher, laundry machine, fridge, coffee maker, and more. Granted, the list of things that needed to be done alone at home was growing to match the saved time in many cases.
Conveniences like washing machines, dishwashers, hoovers. Sorry, if you live outside of the UK, vacuum. I grew up there, okay? It's just stuck in my brain. However, despite all of these inventions and all of the improvements to them, our time spent doing unpaid labour hasn't actually gone down. From appliances and their impact, the ownership of domestic technology and time spent on household work, our overall conclusion is that owning domestic technology rarely reduces unpaid household work. Indeed, in some cases, owning appliances marginally increases the time spent on the relevant task. Nor did we find evidence that the diffusion of these appliances leads to any significant alteration in the traditional gender division of housework tasks. In cases where these contemporary domestic technologies do encourage less household work, it tends to be men who are the beneficiaries. Basically, despite progression in technology, that doesn't mean that household labour time has actually gone down. But the people that do benefit from the technology which has advanced more tend to be men who spend less time doing unpaid labour. I can speak to this from personal experience because Brandon has wanted a robot vacuum for so many years, mostly because he really wanted to see the cats ride around on it, but turns out that they actually hate it, especially Pixie. But hoovering's like a once-a-week activity. It takes like 45 minutes and the place looks amazing afterwards and you're done. However, I'm the one suffering from this contraption because it goes off 3 times a week and it goes around the house. I work from home, okay? And I struggle with long COVID and terrible migraines, so I often have to be in the dark and just like try not to hear anything other than that horrible, painful tinnitus which is going on, which is a constant, but that's just my life now. Not only does this thing go off for 3 hours, 3 days of the week that I have to deal with, I often have to save it because it gets tripped up on a rug or it gets stuck like on an angle, or maybe it's come across a sock or a cat toy somewhere. You have to babysit it so much. It's actually just another thing for me to look after. However, I know there's a number of people who love their robot vacuum. It's made a massive difference to your life and that is great. I'm so happy. It just hasn't worked out that way for us, and because it kind of sucks in comparison to a proper However, Brandon still has to do the 45-minute clean every single weekend anyway. But even if you can get your groceries delivered or you can go pick them up, you still have to go through that mental workload to make sure that you are planning for like the week ahead or however long ahead you need to. You're still doing the meal planning, you're still doing the cooking, you're still doing the washing up, all of that sort of stuff. And yes, there are like meal delivery options or those meal kits that you can get. But then again, that's another barrier to entry of like the price of them, right? Plus, good luck if you're gluten-free and vegan and trying to reduce any plastic that you may be using. The privilege of time saving and accessibility that comes with money cannot be understated though, and this is something which I brought up with my patrons. Because you've got some spare money, that means that you can actually hire the cleaner and hire people to be able to help you, whether that's an au pair or whatever. There's only a few people who can really benefit from that, and sometimes the government do help when it comes to people with disabilities, which is great, but again, like there's a lot of bureaucracy to be able to jump through for that, and my goodness, they really like to try and narrow who is actually disabled, even though there's a whole video I can make about the demonization of disability that is happening right now. And if people even do have a cleaner, you have to do the pre-cleaner clean, especially if you're a woman, because we've been conditioned into this way of thinking that whatever state you live in, that reflects you personally as a woman.
Untidy, 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 untidy.
That's kind of why, like Jordan Teresa says in this video, like guys can get away with like not having interior decoration or whatever, because it's like, oh, it needs a woman's touch, you know?
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, it's a mess.
I was just here like 3 weeks ago for your wedding. What happened?
Well, I always think April's gonna clean up.
And I never clean up.
However, there's this whole other option which has been used for many generations at this point, where you don't even have to worry about like employee salary, no HR hassle or anything. If you're a straight man, you can just get into a relationship with a woman, and bing bang boom, she now works for you for free.
You expect everyone else to take care of you.
Oh, come on. I don't expect everyone else to take care of me. Just you.
Oh, Oscar.
I need to introduce you all to the second shift. Ali Hochschild and Anne Machung coined the phrase and wrote the book all about it in 1989, finding that despite the fact that women have entered the workforce in droves and doing very similar amounts of work to men outside of the home, they are then coming home at 5 o'clock to then clock into their second shift, because this is where you're doing all of the unpaid labor that we talked about earlier. Women are the primary caregivers of children, and they do the majority of the household work. This is kind of like the traditional gender role stuff here, because traditionally men would come home and then they'd just put their feet up and sit on the couch and wait for dinner to be served to them. A lot of us have thankfully moved on from this sort of archaic mindset. Like, that's definitely the case in Brandon's family, and that's definitely the case when I see all of our friends, and it's like, I think a lot of us, like people, you included in the survey, there's a lot more like, would we call it help around the house? However, there's a lot of sticking points when it comes to gender roles, and you may not even be consciously aware of it, but unless you do consciously break patterns, then you're doomed to repeat them. Like, I remember my little toy grey Hoover I had when I was a kid, and I was kind of amazed I was able to find photos of it. Why are we giving only little girls toy cleaning appliances to play with? I believe it's really good for kids to learn chores and learn how to be independent in life. I believe that's like a parent's role, is to ensure that their child can grow up and be independent and be able to like flourish in life, you know? It's why I think of all of this stuff as life skills. However, there's an issue even when it comes to boys' toys versus girls' toys. Like, boys' toys are around spatial awareness, learning about physics. Meanwhile, with girls' toys, they get to be carers of others. And there is so much morality tied to cleanliness, and Tiffany Ferg did an amazing video, which I will also have linked for you down below. She did that over a year ago now. And I know that I absolutely suffer a lot from this, and I know that a lot of women also do, because we are trained from infancy that how a house looks is a direct reflection on you. A while back now, I have talked about the issue of girls having to grow up faster than boys and being given more responsibility from a younger age and just expected to be the role model, the one that is being aware of everyone, anticipating needs and anticipating what needs to happen next in order for, you know, people to be able to go about their lives easily. Even if the expectation is on all kids to do chores, there tends to be a lot more leniency when it comes to boys. All boys are typically in charge of looking after one-off things like mowing the lawn or taking out the trash or something, as opposed to like the day-to-day running of things. But for generation after generation, our culture has deemed it that it's women's work to be doing this stuff inside the home. And therefore this work is lesser than, and it's not really work, because under capitalism, your worth is deemed by how much you earn. So it's actually created a very disincentivizing environment environment for boys to then turn into men who are just like, well, why would I do this stuff? Like, this isn't real work. I go to proper work and I'm a provider because that's what I've been taught to do. That's what I'm meant to do. This other stuff, that's not important. That can just fall by the wayside. Meanwhile, girls are conditioned that all of this other stuff to ensure that the guy can go off to work in a clean suit and have his lunch sorted and have dinner when he comes home and everything is done for him. Like, we're taught that that stuff falls on our responsibility plates, which just end up overflowing. And when it comes to unpaid labor, it's like you don't really have an ending for it. It's not something that you really get paid for. It's just like, everything's perfect. Because just like this scene in The Simpsons, living in general just creates mess. Like the fact that I'm wearing these clothes, they're gonna have to get washed. The baking which you're watching is gonna have to get all washed up. Unpaid labor is a Sisyphean task where you never actually get the reward of things being perfect and then you're done and you don't have to do this ever again. Or at least not for an extended period of time. Whereas, people have to eat multiple times every single day. So you're going to have multiple times of washing up every single day. A while back, one of you commented about Crystal Eastman, and she was a feminist in the 1920s who was talking about the issue of unpaid labor that women do and how women should get paid for all of the contributions that they make to society. And this is stuff which we're still battling with today. It's why I'm constantly trying to bring up, the importance of universal basic income. And there's so many problems which come from the fact that this unpaid work isn't recognized as real work, even though it absolutely benefits a whole bunch of people. In 2020, Oxfam released this report which shared that global unpaid care work is valued at $10.8 trillion annually, more than 3 times the size of the world's tech industry. Unpaid care work is the hidden engine that keeps all of the wheels of our economies, businesses, and societies spinning. And I've got the studies to back me up because of course I do. Now, this Pew research, which came out in 2023, I've already shown you before, where wives are earning the same amount, if not more, than their husbands, and yet they are still doing more household work, whereas he gets more leisure time. And did you know that if men weren't able to marry, their prime age male available working hours would go down by 7% because of this? And there is a male marriage premium because not only do married men out-earn married women, and also single women, because of course, but they also out-earn single men even if they've got the same qualifications and experience as them. I'll zoom in so you can see this chart in more detail. Married men sit at that blue dotted line up at the top. You see how much higher that is than the single men line? They're earning just a tiny bit more than single and married women. Oh, and when women get married, we don't get any financial benefits from it. No. And if you have children, you don't get any benefits from it because you are just producing the next round of taxpayers. And as this study shows, women's non-market work increases their partner's earnings while decreasing their own earnings. This suggests the importance of reducing women's involvement in domestic work in order to close gender wage inequalities. And this other study from 2022 shows housework and care burdens lower labor market participation and working hours. Increasing men's share of chores enhances women's employment and working hours. Housework tasks have more detrimental effects than a child or elderly care. And I found that really interesting. More equal care and housework distribution boosts gender equality in employment. Now, you may be wondering if this applies to all couples or just straight couples, and luckily there is research to actually back this up, which came out in January of this year called Baking It to Gendered Frictions in the Allocation of Home Production, which compared cis-het couples to same-sex couples. And as one of the authors from the study, Corinne Lowe, says,
women do more home production time than men do, and you're probably not surprised by that. But that's true even when they're the primary breadwinner. And so that's where the title, Winning the Bread and Baking It Too, comes from. So we show that in every other couple type, straight couples with a male breadwinner, gay male couples, and lesbian couples, the breadwinner does less home production time and the non-breadwinner does more home production time. But in straight couples with a female breadwinner, that's reversed. The breadwinner still does more home production time and the non-breadwinner does less. And so the woman is doing more home production time, whether she's the breadwinner or not.
And this isn't even including childcare. Women who are breadwinners do twice as much cooking and cleaning as their non-breadwinner male partners. And it also found that even if the guy got laid off from work, so he now has all of this free time, he doesn't pick up his share of the housework. His increase in housework time only goes up marginally. Instead, his leisure time massively increases. And this isn't even allocating time for job searching. There's an inability to reallocate home production time, which then causes greater tension. The issue is that the switching of gender roles has proven incredibly sticky when it comes to the home. As Corinne says much more wisely than I ever could,
we sort of have this unfinished revolution where you have these households where, because women are entering the workforce and they're earning more, women can earn more than men, but you don't see men also kind of switching gender roles and kind of stepping in and doing the home production. And so that has implications for, who is likely to get married. It also has implications for workplace equality, because it's going to be a lot harder for women to lean in at the workplace if their husband isn't leaning in at home.
This is why when we nasty, horrible feminists like myself, who do the majority of the unpaid labor at home, like that's no secret here, we say that the world is built on the back of unpaid labor because we've been trained from infancy to perform this role without actually getting any monetary benefits from it. Now, some people may say, oh, well, you're married, so you get benefits from it that way. However, you're still depending on someone where there's no employment law that is there to protect you. And as Raina Cohen discusses in The Other Significant Other, capitalism adores traditional marriage between a man and a woman because it enables men to be able to be better cogs because they're having all of their unpaid labor just taken care of by the woman, enabling the man to work longer hours and to have more energy and to not have to worry about all of the other things in life that can get in the way of work. And it also means less reliance on social safety nets because, well, you two are your own little unit and she is a dependent on you, so it's up to you to be the provider. And this puts a lot of pressure on the man to be able to keep that position or actually aim higher to be able to make sure that his family is safe, because guess what? The government doesn't want to support him, and governments keep on trying to slash any possible sort of social safety net, don't they? So we're trained to be caretakers, they're trained to be providers, which locks us into this very rigid sense of self. However, we all know that single income households are an absolute rarity unless you are a single parent with children. The thing is that every adult in a household needs to work to be able to keep your head above water. So despite all of this progress in the workplace, we are still seeing inequality in the households, and this is so sticky. It's almost like people don't want it to change.
Do you know where the scissors are?
Doug, we have lived in this house for 9 years, okay? The scissors have always been in the same place, and yet you continue to ask me where they are. Not to mention the spatula, the pot holders, the pens. Well, I'll tell you something, honey. I have been a tour guide in my own kitchen long enough. Too many precious moments have been wasted showing you where things are. Just learn.
Did your blood pressure raise a little bit then? Yeah, that was meant to be a funny scene, by the way. I don't think any of us found it all that funny. This video pops up when you search the term weaponized incompetence on TikTok. However, this isn't weaponized incompetence, this is selfishness and laziness. All you're seeing here is someone who lacks complete consideration for others. Weaponized incompetence is like Raymond from Everybody Loves Ray.
Fold this shirt.
Why?
When we first got married and you used to fold stuff, I would think, how could he be so bad at this? Look at all the wrinkles. And now I know. You faked it. In 10 years you haven't made the bed because
I'm no good at tucking.
Admit it. You faked it, you faker.
No.
What else, Ray, huh? What else? You don't do anything in the kitchen. You don't buy groceries. Diapers! 3 kids and you don't change like 10 diapers in your whole life.
I can't do it. The diapers keep falling off.
Where someone, sadly usually a man, pretends to be bad at doing something or forgets to do it, or just like, oh, you just do things so much better than me. It's meant to put the woman in a better light to be able to say, look how capable she is. Isn't that like a horrible thing to say how incapable he is? Or there's excuses for not completing tasks, like saying, oh, you said to get groceries. You didn't say to put the groceries away. Or, well, you asked to do the laundry. You didn't say that I had to sort it and then wash it and then hang it out and then fold it and put it away. That's the laundry. That's all the jobs that the laundry encompasses. It's akin to laziness, but with an excuse rather than saying, I don't want to. Or it can show us the over-reliance on someone. You remember those videos from earlier? It's like this constant, you need to tell me what to do because I don't know that I should be changing my baby's nappy even though they've clearly pooped. I know that the whole I hate my wife, I hate my husband sort of stuff is still popular on TikTok for some reason, in particular with Gen Z. Maybe I'm just too radicalized, but I just think that when you're in a loving relationship, you're part of a team and you want to support each other. You don't really want to say how much you hate them, but that could just be me. And before you go typing it out, I do understand that there are people that struggle with neurodiversity and executive dysfunction. And for some people, if you no longer see something, it no longer exists in your mind. You just completely forget about it. There are so many online communities which are literally dedicated to this sort of stuff. If you type in cleaning neurodiversity or cleaning ADHD or something, you will find a whole bunch of resources that are able to help you better than I can here. I was using those examples as a version of weaponized incompetence, where people are capable of doing that stuff, but they are manipulating and saying like, oh, well, I just didn't think this, so I'm not having a go at people who are neurodiverse. The latest Hilda report shows that men are doing 50% less housework than women, and men aren't doing any more housework than they were 20 years ago. But they think that they're doing their fair share, and they're actually really happy with the way that things are. Shocking. The latest report showed that in 2022, men spent an average of 12.8 hours on housework, the same amount of time as they were spending in 2002. Women comparatively spent an average of 18.4 hours a week on housework. You'll notice that women's hours have slightly decreased, but that could be either because there is more of a slack, which has happened as they have increased their amount of hours at work, as a number of you were saying in your survey responses. Like, a lot of people are just like, well, I don't want it to be like this, but I can only do what I can. Or it's because wealthier people are able to get those services and help, like hiring a cleaner or getting like a robot vacuum if that works for you, or a robot feeder or a robot to mow your lawn and all that sort of stuff. And even so, women are still doing more. We need to compare this to working hours, right? The analysis found both men and women are spending more time in paid work than they were 20 years ago. Women in 2022 averaged 28.5 hours a week in employment, compared with 22.2 hours in 2002. Meanwhile, men spent 37.9 hours, up from 37.7 hours in 2002. So men's weekly work increased by 12 minutes a week, and women's paid working hours increased by 6 hours and 20 minutes a week. 12 minutes versus 6 hours and 20 minutes. There's quite a difference there.
Son of a... It's a business meeting.
It's a frat party.
Regional manager, corporate manager, head of sales.
Margarita, cigar, sombrero.
So really, it's just that the slack isn't being picked up. And there's also the issue of, oh, well, if you want me to help out, then just tell me what to do, write a list. And just like Faraday sings,
he's happy just to help. He can write the list himself. You seem so overwhelmed. If he just looked around and made his own damn list. Fine, I made a list. Did he do it? Don't be an egg.
And it's like, well, you live here too. You can see with your eyes the stuff that needs to be done. You can also notice that we're out of milk. Plus, we can't be accused of being a nag, right? This is something which I think a lot of us have grown up fearing becoming, because so much media has portrayed, especially as women get older, they're all nagging horrible housewives or just nagging wife, and nobody wants to fit into that trope. So instead, you just take on more burden yourself. It's really healthy. How familiar are we with lines like, oh, what happened to the fun, carefree woman I used to date? She's picking up your stinky socks and doing all your grocery shopping and all your cooking, Chad. I think she's a bit tired. Women don't want to be in charge of mopping or cleaning things or making sure that the groceries are bought. It just falls on us by default. This is very similar to the whole, I just don't see mess. And once again, I'm not saying all men here. What I'm talking about is a pattern which has come up from the research. I'm not saying all men. From survey responses, there are indeed some people who have a much more equitable division of unpaid labor at home, which I personally think is great. Same as I think it's great that there's fathers who stay home with the children and fathers who are the first point of contact when it comes to, kids having issues in daycare or school or something. I think that's so good. A 2023 study was done to examine the way that men and women have been trained to see mess in the home. It birthed the affordance theory, which as a conversation writes in this amazing piece. When Jill enters the messy kitchen, she sees the dishes as to be washed and the recycling bin as to be taken out. Jack, of course, sees that there are dishes in the sink and the recycling bin is full, but these perceptions do not tug at him. He does not see the mess as tasks that must be done. For Jill, the dishes invite washing up, while for Jack, they do not. And this theory can explain why women do a majority of household labor, even when they work full-time. If Jill is more sensitive to affordances for domestic tasks, she's more likely to notice the dishes need washing up and to be more motivated to do the task. It is likely Jack won't even notice the disparity in workload. If you don't see the counter as to be wiped, you are less likely to notice when it has been wiped. This double whammy of inequity and invisibility takes a considerable mental toll on women and puts a serious strain on the relationships. This just makes me think of that very famous scene in the movie The Breakup.
I don't like waking up to a dirty kitchen.
Cares?
I care, all right? I care. I busted my ass all day cleaning this house and then cooking that meal, and I worked today. It would be nice if you said thank you and helped me with the dishes.
Fine. I'll help you do the damn dishes.
All Oh, come on. You know what? No, that's not what I want.
You just said that you want me to help you do the dishes.
I want you to want to do the dishes.
Why would I want to do dishes?
I'm upset because you don't have a strong desire to offer to do the dishes.
I just did.
After I asked you.
Jesus, Brooke, you're acting crazy. Just get 20 minutes to relax when I come home instead of being attacked with questions and nag the whole damn time.
You think that I nag you?
That's all you do! All you do is nag me.
If you can't relate to Jennifer Aniston's character, I can tell you there's so many people in your life that absolutely can. Waking up to a filthy kitchen is like waking up to a reminder that you have to get this massive chore done before you can even begin on the other things that you have to do. So before you can even start on your day of like all the other work you have to do yesterday's tasks that you put off doing, and now it's stinky and things are stuck on and it's just gross, and you get hit with this wave of shame and guilt once again, because we are trained from infancy to be the caretakers, to be the ones that are cleaning up, to be the ones that are making sure that things are all going to be running smoothly. The great news I have for you is that affordance perceptions can be changed. All it takes is practice and conscious effort. Instead of relying on someone else to tell you the things to do, you can pay attention and be like, oh, this goes here, this happens there. I know after living in my house for 9 years that the scissors go in the top drawer on this side.
See this basket thing? I don't know how it happens, if it's the house or what, but any dirty clothes you put in this basket, somehow the next day they're just clean, folded, and in a perfect pile on your bed.
You're not serious.
I couldn't believe it at first either.
The divorce came out of nowhere, right? Whilst we do have all of this amazing tech which has helped people in so many different ways, from being able to do a small load of laundry if you live in a very small apartment or something in a city, especially living somewhere like New York where washing machines are not a common appliance to have, all the way to people being able to have greater independence through more disability access thanks to these inventions. That stuff is so good. However, despite all of this amazing progress, our unpaid labour hasn't actually decreased. In fact, it's kind of become more of an expectation as things keep on going more and more right-wing. And this is the thing that really concerns me, right? Is when Taylor Swift got engaged, I don't really care about any of it. Charlie Kirk said this.
We want you to leave the island of the wokies, and we would welcome you with open arms. Submit to your husband, Taylor. You're not in charge.
And the whole submit to your husband thing, the whole trad wife propaganda. We've got Christian nationalists saying that women shouldn't vote. We've got so many people saying that women belong in the home and that's the one place that they belong. It really does concern me when we're seeing such regressive values, and this stickiness when it comes to gender roles only means that this sort of regression is easier to happen, and there's greater resentment towards women who are choosing not to do that, or women who choose to stay single. And the thing which really does get to me is isn't this really patronizing to men? Because we still get all of these jokes of oh, he's so useless, he doesn't know how to do this, that and the other. I have to do this again. Oh, he said he'd do this, but he didn't. It's that same sort of 1950s kind of comedy. We're still stuck here. And like I said, these are all life skills. Everybody needs to know this stuff. And yet, time and again, it's women are too emotional to lead. Women can't do this, that, and the other. Yet we're meant to be the only ones capable of running a household. Meanwhile, men are the ones who are, quote, meant to be in positions of power. They're meant to be the world leaders. They're meant to be the CEOs. You see how BS all of this messaging is? I just find it more depressing that we don't think that boys and men can handle equitable division of household labor because these patterns haven't been broken. So yeah, once again, just like I brought up with adolescence, so much of this stuff begins at home. Another thing that would help massively is if workplaces, instead of just maternity leave, had parental leave. Hell, in the US, if you just got maternity leave to begin with, that would be shocking for a start to finally get some sort of recognition there. But we also really do need this societal shift. I think in Bluey, from the small amount that I've seen, I have seen Bluey's dad actually participate a lot more in the raising of the kids and also doing the household work as well. So Once again, that's a good show. We should probably have a cupcake, right? I haven't had lunch and it is 2 in the afternoon. I normally have lunch at 12. My God, no wonder. I've been struggling getting through this. I'm going to show you the pretty cupcakes, but I'm going to eat the ugly one because once again, I'm a woman, so I put myself last, and my neighbors are going to get the pretty ones. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, you don't know what else to say, leave the washing basket, the broom, the soap emoji maybe, the sponge emoji if you also were like, why the hell are you using so much product in this TikTok? Because that made me infuriated. Massive thanks once again to my patrons, and extra special thank you to my top tier trash panda enablers. Baguettes, Carrie Quake, Danielle, Amberly McCulley, Jamisa Brown, Jeff Boyardee, Cole, Laura Bell, Maxie, Mayanaka Midnighter, Megan Connolly, Mila Gautier, Nathan, Nicole H, Ryder, Spooky Jade, Tammy Poitras, Tonya Banier, Varu Catmama, Zofima. Even though I iced that one real ugly, it tastes delicious. That is good. That's so zingy. Maybe one day we'll get the sort of Jetsons robot that can do all of that stuff. Until then, we can just keep on going with our Sisyphean tasks, but maybe with a bit more equality. That would be lovely. I'll see you all next time. Bye.